All right, here we are on Unit 3, the Finance Unit, Day 1 or Day 15. So we're going to start with, there's two videos in this section. One is we're going to review the percent to decimal order of operations and changing percent notation to decimal notation, etc. So in the video, I'm going to do the notes and some of the problems, and the rest of them you would go back and make sure to check the key. And then some of your Math 154 instructors are going to use Desmos calculators, TI-30, XS, TI-84. You need to make sure you know how to use the particular calculator for this unit that you're using. I'm going to show on a TI-84, for example, but make sure to practice with what you're going to use. So for converting percent notation to decimal notation, if you've got a percent, grab my pen, you drop the percent and divide it by 100. So 5%, for example, is 0.05. If you're not sure, put it in the calculator, 5 divided by 100. Another way you could do it is you're moving your decimal 2 places to the left, making it smaller. So 1, 2. So there was my 2 spots. And then if you're converting decimal to percent, it's the other way. You're multiplying it by 100, or you're taking your decimal and moving it to make it bigger. So if you have a decimal, you can multiply it by 100 to get that percent. Or if you have a percent, you can divide it by 100 to get your decimal. So if we want to write the following percents as decimals and decimals as percents. So to get percent to decimal, think percent is the big number. We need it to go smaller. So we're going to divide these by 100. Even if they have decimals in it, that doesn't matter. We're going to move it over 12.1275, 12.0895. And then decimal to percent, we want to make it bigger. So we're multiplying by 100 each time. And I'll put the percent there so we know that we want to make it a percent. So 33% and 112.5%. So this next section, order of operations, is where you really want to check what type of calculator you have and how to type it in. Most of the calculators, if you type it in with all the parentheses we have, you're going to be fine. So the order is parentheses first. Anything inside the parentheses goes first. Then you do your exponents. Then multiplication and division go from left to right. Addition and subtraction go from left to right. Again, be very careful to start using your calculator, making sure you can really get these answers. Okay, really start grabbing that calculator out. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be using a standard TI-84 to type these in. So for number 4, I'm going to type it exactly as I see it, because the calculator can do order of operations. We just need to make sure parentheses are in the right spot. So that gives me 48. Now, if I go to do this by hand, I can. We're going to start with parentheses. So if you ever need to break it down, inside the parentheses, we then go order of operations. So we're going to do the multiplication. So that gives me 20 plus 4 times 2. Parentheses go next, and then I can get my answer. And then you also saw how I typed it in the calculator. So in the calculator, I typed 2 times 4 plus 5 times 4. Make sure you got your calculator out. Make sure you're using it. Now down here, when you have a fraction bar, it's assumed that the top has its own set of parentheses and the bottom also has its own set of parentheses. So when you type this, is actually 1050 divided by 0.07 times 3. Okay. or 1,050 divided by 0.21. Really make sure that you note that you have to put your own parentheses there. And that gives us 5,000 for our answer. All right, the others, you will want to check your key and see how you're doing. So then as we move into algebra, if we've got algebraic formulas, these letters, and we need to put in our answers and type them. Something like this one, if I want I, I'm told PO is 400 times R. Now here's a quick catch. Percents have to go as decimals when we put them in, just like in modeling, times T. You type that in directly as you see it, and you get 84. And then down here, I'm going to jump to 10. We've got a little more going on. 8,000, 1 plus R, T. Type it in exactly like that, and you will be able to get your answer. 8,000 times parenthesis 1 plus 0.03 times 12. And I can get my answer of 10,880. And then the last one on this part I'll do is number 9. PO, but this time it's that parenthesis piece. It's that I have to put in these parentheses. So it's 3125 divided by R times T. And just make sure that you note I have to put in those parentheses or it's going to be wrong. It's going to be something I'm not used to. And for the rest, you will want to check the key. Now then, the next part of these notes, you're solving equations for a variable. So now we're going to actually jump into the full piece, which is where you would have solve for T, but T is not directly given. We have to algebraically solve for it. So in 8 through 12, you were told T equals, you were told A equals. We were already moving the equation around. And these, you have to move it around algebraically. So if I want T here, I need to isolate T. In order to do that, I go reverse order of operations. So if I look at T, it's being multiplied by 0.04 and 1,400. So I'm going to divide by those. So over here, I have 1,500 equals 1,400, 0.04, and this T that I want to isolate. So I'm going to divide both sides by the 1,400 and the 0.04. That way they cancel out and it's gone. Now, when I put this in, these need its own parenthesis. So I'm going to type in there 1,500 divided by parenthesis 1,400 times 0.04. Okay, make sure you're typing it right. It's going to be 1,500 divided by parenthesis 1,400 times 0.04. Desmos is going to work the same. Your TI-30S is going to work the same as well. All of these should let you do a direct typing like that. You do not need the graphing calculator to do that. Okay. So then this one for 14, you're now solving for R. Same idea, divide out what we don't need. So R is being multiplied by 7,000. So I'm gonna just fix this because that's an easy multiplication, right? Then I don't have to worry about it. And then I'm gonna divide. And that's really easy to type into my calculator. 2,500 divided by 7,000, and I'll get 0.357. And then something else to note, if it's round to 100, that's 2 decimals. All right, so that is the end of video 1. There is a second video. Make sure you stay tuned.